Welcome back. All right, so in today's team history or team playoff history video, the New York Islanders are up, and I'm using the logo that Islander fans recognize from playoff series that I used the last 2 years when they're in the playoffs. It's done pretty well, so we consider it a good luck charm. Or it's the logo that makes it so they can't get past the quarter conference finals, or in this case, this year was the semifinals. So it feels like when you're talking about the Islanders more than a lot of other teams, you need to get into who the general manager is at the time, right? So in 1995, Mike Milbury is named the general manager of the New York Islanders. At the time, Milbury had a good reputation as a coach. It wasn't that controversial a decision to have Milbury in charge. Milbury lasted a lot longer than a lot of people thought he should have. His contract decisions were head scratchers. Some of his trades, also head scratchers. And I've done a video on the channel on the GMing career of Mike Milbury. It's fascinating, as well as his playing career. So 99-2000, while he's in charge, the team is not very good. And this is right around where they draft Luongo, and then of course you trade Luongo because you're going to draft DiPietro, and a lot of interesting decisions being made. So they're 24-48, 9-1, no playoffs. Mariusz Czerkawski is their leading scorer. And you'd be forgiven for forgetting Czerkawski was the leading scorer for the Islanders. 79 games, 35 goals, 35 assists, 70 points. Not bad. Pretty good totals for Czerkawski, right? The following season, 2000-2001, they finished 21-51, 7-3. And this is around where the Islanders just are a complete disaster. Their attendance is really low. Everything looks bad. Czerkawski's still the leading scorer, 82 games, 30 goals, 32 assists for 62 points. So 2001-2002, the team on the ice turns things around. And this is part of the reason why Milbury lasts as long as he does, because they did make the playoffs. They finished 42-28, 8-4. In the playoffs, they lose against Toronto in the first round in 7. Yashin's their leading scorer. That's one of those iffy trades and iffy contracts. Yashin, 78 games, 32 goals, 43 assists, 75 points to lead the team. And in the playoffs, he scores 3 goals and 4 assists. 7 points in 7 games, which is pretty good for Yashin, who was known for struggling in the playoffs. He had his issue in the playoffs in Ottawa. And of course, then there was the holdout with Ottawa, and everything was just not great in the Alexei Yashin Ottawa Senator universe, which is how he ends up becoming an Islander. 2002-2003, their record's mediocre, but they make the playoffs. They finish 35-34, 11-2. They lose in the first round against Ottawa in 5. And you got to think that some members of the Senators just really wanted to go out there and beat Yashin. He's their leading scorer again, 81 games, 26 goals, 39 assists for 65 points. In 5 playoff games, he records 2 goals and 2 assists. Again, not bad for him in terms of playoff numbers, but the Islanders don't get out of the first round. It will be a while before the Islanders get out of the first round. 2003-2004, they finished 38-29, 11-4. Again, they make the playoffs. They lost in the first round against Tampa, who were on their way to winning a Stanley Cup that year. That series took 5 games. Tampa might be a bad matchup for the Islanders. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. Trent Hunter. Yeah, Trent Hunter led the team in scoring. 77 games, 25 goals, 26 assists, 51 points. He failed to record a point in 5 games in the playoffs. But Trent Hunter being the leading scorer, that was a surprise. It's still a surprise to me looking back at some of these leading scorers for the Islanders. 2005-2006. So the lockout season 04-05, that's gone. 05-06, the Islanders playoffs are gone. 36-40-8. And finally, the patience with Mike Milbury seems to be up. So Shaitan led the team in scoring. Mero Shaitan. 82 games, 35 goals, 31 assists, 66 points. But after that season, which had to be considered a disappointment, we see Milbury's gone. So during the offseason, they bring in Neil Smith. Big name. Good call. For 40 days. And then Garth Snow became the general manager. He had just retired as a goaltender. And the jokes that occurred at that time, there were a lot of them. There was a lot of discussion about, did anybody else want the job with the Islanders after Milbury's job and then Neil Smith not even lasting 6 weeks? Maybe nobody else wanted it. But either way, Garth Snow gets the job. And 06-07, his first year on the job, they do make the playoffs. They finished 40, 30, and 12. So it's the first time they'd reached 40 wins since 2001, 2002. But they lose in the first round again. And this is the problem for the Islanders at this stage, right? They lost in 5 to Buffalo. Jason Blake leads them in scoring. 82 games, 40 goals, 29 assists for 69 points. In 5 playoff games, he records a goal and 2 helpers. So Jason Blake's another one of those ones you go, oh, right, he led them in scoring. But there's others. 2007, 2008, they finished 35, 38, and 9. They fall out of the playoffs, and it would be a while before they get back. Mike Comrie led them in scoring. Yep. 76 games, 21 goals, 28 assists, 49 points. So we go to 2008, 2009. Still no playoffs. And this is where things get frustrating, right? If you're an Islanders fan. 26, 47, and 9. Streit leads them in scoring. Mark Streit leads them in scoring. 74 games, 16 goals, 40 assists, 56 points for the defenseman to lead them in scoring. Bizarre. 2009, 2010, they finished 34, 37, and 11. No playoffs. But a name we're going to hear a lot of, John Tavares. He leads them in scoring. In 82 games, 24 goals, 30 assists, 54 points. So all this waiting around and getting that number 1 pick, they get their guy in John Tavares. The idea is this is going to lead them back to respectability, right? This was a team that hadn't won a round. I think it was 93 was the last time they'd won a round. So 2010, 2011, they finished 30, 39, and 13. The record actually gets worse. No playoffs. Tavares, 82 games, 29 goals, 38 assists, 67 points. So he improves by 13 points. 2011, 2012, their record gets back to where it was 2 years before at 34, 37, and 11. Still no playoffs, but Tavares is getting better. 82 games, 31 goals, 50 assists, 81 points. So Tavares is the face of this team, and they're building to something. At least it feels like they're building to something, right? 2012-2013, lockout shortened season. They finished 24, 17, and 7. In the first round, they lose to Pittsburgh in 6. John Tavares, in 48 games, that lockout shortened season, 28 goals, 19 assists, 47 points. 28 goals is fantastic over 48 games. And in 6 playoff games, he records 3 goals and 2 assists. So Tavares debuts in the playoffs, and it's not a bad outing. And losing to Pittsburgh, there's no shame in that. So 2013-2014, they drop back to 34, 37, and 11. They love that record. And no playoffs, of course. Kyle Okposo is their leading scorer. 71 games, 27 goals, 42 assists, 69 points. So, bad season. However, they bounce right back in 2014-2015. 47, 28, and 7. But they lose in the first round again. And this was the frustration with the Islanders at that point. They could not get out of the first round. They lose against Washington in 7 in the first round. So it's a thrilling series, but they lose to Washington, which is the reverse for how things used to be between the Islanders and Washington in, say, the late 80s, early 90s. Tavares leads them in scoring again. 82 games, 38 goals, 48 assists, 86 points. In 7 playoff games, he records 2 goals and 4 assists. So we move on to 2015-2016. They finished 45, 27, and 10. And for the first time since 2002 and 2003, they are back-to-back years in the playoffs. 45, 27, and 10. And there was some belief maybe this team could do something. In the first round, they're against Florida. The beauty of this series was one of them has to win a round, right? It's not like both buildings are going to burn down. Somebody has to win a round, and it's the Islanders. The Islanders beat Florida in 6 in the first round before they run into their nemesis in Tampa, who take them out in 5. John Tavares leads them in scoring, 78 games, 33 goals, 37 assists for 70 points. In 11 playoff games, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points. 2016-2017, a disappointment. They failed to reach the playoffs for a third straight season. 41, 29, and 12, so that playoff streak ends at 2. And Tavares is the leading scorer again, 77 games, 28 goals, 38 assists, 66 points. 2017-2018, 35, 37, and 10. It's just getting worse. And Barzal is now the leading scorer for a team that's out of the playoffs. 82 games, 22 goals, 63 assists, 85 points. Now, at the end of this, Garceau loses his job. In comes Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello tries to keep Tavares. Tavares had basically said, yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay with the Islanders. And then Tavares decided, I'm going to go somewhere else. So you've got a team that finished below 500 outside of the playoffs. A little bit of chaos in the front office, and they lose their centerpiece in John Tavares. While they brought in Barry Trotz from Washington, who surprisingly didn't sign an extension with the Caps. I would say when your team wins the first Stanley Cup they've ever won, maybe pay your coach. But the Caps didn't want to do that. They wanted to hire somebody they'd fire pretty quickly. So 2018-2019 rolls around. There's no expectation on the New York Islanders. However, they finished 48-27-7. The work ethic instilled by Barry Trotz works. The system he brings in works. And in the first round, they score a shocking 4-0 sweep of the Pittsburgh Penguins before being swept by Carolina in the second round. So playoffs, get it done, get it done, get it done. Your sweeps back and back and back, and then, of course, Carolina would get swept by Boston in the next round. So Barzal leads them in scoring again. 82 games, 18 goals, 44 assists, 62 points. Low points total for a leading scorer, but they get it done with 4 lines. In 8 playoff games, he records 2 goals and 5 assists. 2018-2019, they finished 35-23-10. They're in the playoffs again. They have to play the qualifying round. They beat Florida in the qualifying round in 4, so they know how to beat Florida. They beat Washington in the first round in 5, so there's the revenge for this one. Then they beat Philadelphia in 7 in the second round. A series that, even though it went 7, it just never really felt like Philadelphia was going to win that series. Tampa Bay, though, knocks them out in 6 in the conference final. I wanted to say semifinal, but the semifinal's over here. Barzal led them in scoring again that year. 68 games, 19 goals, 41 assists, 60 points. In the playoffs, 22 games, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points. So, Lamoriello takes over. They make the playoffs back-to-back years. And they made the playoffs again in 2020-2021 in the very tough Eastern Division. 32-17-7, excellent regular season record. In the first round, they beat Pittsburgh. And depending on your point of view, either see it as an upset or just a continuation. And then they beat Boston in the second round in 6, which was considered an upset by many. And then in the semifinal, they run into Tampa Bay. What's interesting is 2016, Tampa Bay beats them in 5. 2020, Tampa Bay beats them in 6. This year, Tampa Bay beats them in 7. So next time they play each other, the Islanders should beat them in 7. They're winning a game, extra game each time, and eventually they'll sweep Tampa. But they got to play them 4 more times. But all kidding aside, Barzal leads them in scoring again. 55 games, 17 goals, 28 assists, 45 points. The interesting thing is Barzal has led this team in scoring 4 years in a row. I still think there's a lot more offense there. In the playoffs, in 19 games, he has 6 goals and 8 assists for 14 points. The one thing with the Islanders is they do seem to have found a recipe by which they can record a lot of wins and get somewhere in the playoffs. It's about getting over that hump, though, and actually winning the Stanley Cup. And whether or not this team's going to do it remains to be seen. And I feel bad for the guys on this team because you look at the dynasty that the Islanders had. You have Trottier, who in his career with the Islanders had 175 games played, 64 goals, 105 assists for 169 points. Potvin, 185 games played, 56 goals, 108 assists, 164 points. And Bossy, 129 games played, 85 goals, 75 assists, 160 points. The highest active player points in the playoffs for the Islanders is Josh Bailey. 71 games, 16 goals, 34 assists, 50 points. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Trottier, Potvin, and Bossy are pretty safe as 1, 2, 3. Brock Nelson, 67 games. I'll get there. 23 goals, 18 assists, 41 points. And Matthew Barzal has played 49 games in the playoffs for the Islanders. 13 goals, 25 assists, 38 points. So again, I think the top 3 are pretty safe. I don't think anybody's threatening them anytime soon. Unless Barzal in the 2022 playoffs scored 122 points. So maybe. But he might need some empty netters to get there. But yeah, there you go. It is an interesting history. Again, it felt like the GMs were a big part of the story here too. And then, of course, there's all the contracts and everything else. But I wanted to look at their playoff history. And there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.